how much time is being wasted? Do we really need 8 and 12-hour days? Do we, could everything be done if we were doing the dollar productive activities?
Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we talk with Waylon Chavez out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. After entering the real estate industry in 2006, Waylon now has turned his attention toward the training and coaching of fellow agents. And as you'll hear in just a little bit, he focuses on productivity and goal planning to help agents achieve a six-figure income, all while working just a 6-hour workday. Now, before we get into the day's featured interview, make sure you follow and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the list goes on. Also, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notifications when each new episode is uploaded. And lastly, if you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story to share, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories. All right, so on to the day's featured interview, where we chat with Waylon Chavez, founder of the Six-Figure Realtor Revolution. Links to all of Waylon's platforms can be found in the episode description. Just kind of getting started out a little bit, can you tell me about yourself, how you got your start in the real estate industry?
Okay, well, my name is Waylon Chavez. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I got my start in real estate back in 2006. And what I did before was right out of high school, I graduated in 96. Right out of that, I was born and raised with my grandparents, and the kind of philosophy there was like, you go to work, you work 25 years for the city, county government, and then you retire, and then you can live life after that. So not knowing any better, I did that for about 10 years. Right around 2005, I was like, is this what my life is going to entail? Doing the same thing every day, getting the same paycheck every 2 weeks, being unfulfilled, not being able to live life. So, I discussed and I got married very young. And I discussed with my spouse, I said, what are we going to do? I want to do something where if I succeed, it's because of me, or if I fail, it's because of me. I don't want to leave it determined to anybody else. So did some investigation on real estate, saw what it took and saw the potential there. So I signed up for the course, deep dive into that. I almost got a divorce because what I did is I quit the city. I as Tony Robbins said, burn your boats. I burned all my boats. I quit my job at the city, so I had no income coming in. Mm-hmm. I put 100% effort into my real estate, passed my course, went and signed on with the independent brokerage. And this was May of 2006. And back then I didn't know, the real estate market was really good. You could sell a house to anybody, but me coming, and doing stuff, I just went out to work. I started contacting people. I made up these little cheap cardboard signs that said, $500 down, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, brand new home. I put my number, got so many calls from that. And this was May of 2006. So between May and December of that year, I sold 18 homes, and I didn't know if that was good or bad. I just went out and worked, Right. And ever since then, 2 years later, I opened my own company. So I'm going on 2008, I opened my own company, and I'm going on 15 years in the industry now. So I've been my own test subject for the last years, and now I want to share that knowledge with others. So
Right. Yeah. So what's it been like kind of growing your own business, making that jump? Because, going from not in the business to total career change to now, owning your own business.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. I knew once I got my license, I wanted to own my own, just for the simple fact that I wanted to be in control of what I did and how I can serve my customers. I've never been one that's really big on big company franchises. I like to make my decisions myself. I don't like to go, not that I do anything that I'm not supposed to, but I like to provide that service and that value to the customer on a one-on-one basis and a more intimate basis rather than just having the big corporate structure.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of, how big is your team now? What's your kind of structure now?
Well, that's a double answer also, because when I first opened my company, I'm like, oh yes, I want to recruit agents. I want to have agents. I want to train and coach and this and that. And so when I first opened, I had about 16 agents, and come to know that I personally wasn't ready for that yet. I was still growing. I was still evolving. So I had to downsize. I readjusted everything myself, personally, was the biggest thing. So got rid of all the agents, got on a plan myself, got some coaching, got some training, and grew as a leader So now I'm going on my third agent. I have three agents now, but what I do now, different than the others, is my company's focused on training, coaching, accountability, and systems versus like, your traditional, you're just here to get your split and be part of the company. It's more of a training and coaching and development company now where I develop the agents.
Right. When did that, talking about that accountability and the coaching and all that, when did that really kind of click for you? Because I think a lot of times people are afraid of the coaching, thing. Like, why am I putting money into this? I can do this myself. But everybody needs somebody, some accountability.
Oh yeah. And I thought that for years. I was like, you know what? I'm a high D personality. I want to do everything myself. I can do it. And I kept beating my head against the wall. Like, no, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And back in 2012, I've always been very involved. I go to the NAR conferences every year. I go to, I'm involved in the Residential Real Estate Council. So back in 2012, at one of the main sessions at NAR National was Jack Canfield. And I was out there by myself. Like I said, I own an independent company. I went out by myself. I just like to learn. I'm not afraid to go and just go by myself and do it. But I went to the Jack Canfield general session, and he's the author of the Success Principles, and you might know him from Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I attended his session, and I think it was an hour, 90 minutes, and it just blew my mind because I've always been a person that wanted and always got what I wanted. And before I knew what goals were, they were my goals. But I did it there's a systematic way to actually achieve goals. And I was kind of going uphill in mud. I would always get what I wanted, but it was always difficult, stressful. It took me longer. And when I took that 90-minute session with Jack, I was just blown away in how he had the system to actually do it. So when I was there, I signed up for his training, which was a full 7-day training from like 8 a.m. to like 6 or 7 p.m. at night. And it was for 7 days. And it really went through and it worked on me, and it gave me the system for success and how to implement it into real estate, which I did on my own. His is just in general, but I took his system, adapted it to real estate, and became my own test dummy per se since 2012. And then I finally perfected my system the way I think it is, and now I want to share it with others.
Right. And you have a podcast, a Facebook. Tell me a little bit about what you are doing to share that with everybody.
So mine is a little different. A lot of people in your general real estate trainings, it's all about how to generate more listings, more leads, more buyers, more sales. And with that being needed, we definitely need that. But my perspective is if we don't take a step back and see why we're needing that, for me, the missing link in real estate is the personal development part and actually planning the life. Because what I want to do is help people plan, create, and live their desired life and use real estate as a way to fund it. So many people don't do that. We get into real estate saying, I want to sell X amount of homes a year. I want, the fancy car. I want the fancy this. I want to be part of this team or whatever it may be. And for me, that's about ego. And for me, it's about freedom. I want to use real estate as a way to fund my life. I love to travel. I'm in the Air National Guard, so I get to do that in addition to my real estate business. So I want to help people live a life, because 99% of people that get into real estate do it so they can have a life, but there's not that guy or that training out there to show them actually how to do that.
Right. And, it's interesting. You talk about you wanted to get into real estate to have that freedom. And I think so many people do that, that there's that idea that it's, you're working for yourself. It's not the 9 to 5. It's,
Yeah.
And also you have the HGTV effect. Everything's all glitzy and like
that's exactly what I tell agents.
Yeah,
when they cut, so we're very similar. So when I tell agents, I tell them, why do you want to get into real estate? Because it's not like HGTV and it's not like $1 million listings. So
right. Yeah, but with your system and the way in your mindset training and your goal planning, it is to help people achieve the lifestyle that they want.
Exactly. And you said the key word right there is what they want, not what's perceived that's out there or what society thinks is cool, but it's exactly what you want. So it's different for each person, because we can plan to create your life. Like for me, like I said, I love to travel. I'm in the Air National Guard. I love to attend conferences and training. So I adapt my career around that. I have a 15-year-old son that's in sports. I don't miss none of his practices. I don't miss none of his games. School activities like that. So I plan my life and then use real estate as a way to fund that life.
Yeah. So how do you go about, like you said, a lot of times people achieve these things, but they don't really know how they got there, or, you know, a lot of times when people say, I want to do this, they have no structure of how to actually achieve that goal. So, you know,
Exactly.
kind of like getting into the actual goal planning, where do you go from there?
Well, going back to your question you said earlier about, us needing coaches and accountability, and that accountability, I was hitting my head against the wall and I was like, no, I can do it myself. But when I finally did it, it made me 3 times my income within the next 2 years by doing it and having the system and having the accountability and the guidance. So for me, I'm a big believer in it now. That's why I want to bring this to the industry. And my course is called 6 hours to six figures for realtors, how you can work 6 hours a day, earn a high six-figure income so you can actually live your life, and it can be done, but we have to prioritize on that. And so many things. And the way I do that is it's called the 4 pillars of real estate. And the first thing is laying the foundation. Just like a home, if you don't have a solid foundation, once you start to build that structure, it's going to crumble if it's not a solid foundation. And the second pillar of that is mindset mastery. If we don't have a good mindset, we don't know where we're going. Majority of people in life never get what they want because they never decide what they want. Mm-hmm. And that's an error. That was me. I just wanted to create a living and make a living for myself and my family. I was kind of desperate at the time. I was like, I just need to make money so I can survive and so I can provide. But in all actuality, once you go through the mindset and you can change these thoughts, you can actually plan, create, and live your desired life. But the biggest problem is we don't take time to do that planning.
Right. Yeah. I think, so many of us think, we all have these goals and aspirations, but there's that immediate, I've got to make the mortgage payment. I've got to pay the daycare bill. So like all those little hurdles, you get so overwhelmed by those hurdles that you don't really ever put the steps in place and actually go through with getting yourself to that, goal that you had initially kind of set for yourself.
Exactly. And part of that is because it comes from a scarcity mindset and a lack mindset versus an abundance mindset. And that was me for so many years. I just needed to pay the house, the car, the bills, this and that. But, once I took a step back, I learned this system from Jack Canfield and I implemented it and I adjusted it to real estate and how it could be successful for me. I won't go without it now. And you may have to stop for a while and regroup. But while you're doing that, you can actually plan and create the rest every year of your life you can do, you know what I mean? Because once we decide on something we want, it's kind of magical. Once you put it out there, what you think about, you bring about. I'm sure you've heard that before, what you focus on expands. So once you do that and you get into action, things start happening and things for the good.
Right. So you said you have 4 pillars. Those were the 2. What's 3 and 4?
3 and 4 are getting into action, of course, because so many times, in the recent years, people talk about law of attraction. They might have seen the movie The Secret and you just visualize and this and that. But without getting into action, it's not going to happen. But what I like to add to that is getting into the right action. Because as you know, in real estate, we try to be everything to everybody and end up being nothing to nobody. And what I mean by that is, say here locally, I'm in Albuquerque. So we have Albuquerque, we have Rio Rancho, we have Valencia County. And so many people try to be the agent to everybody. I'll help you in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Las Lunas, here, and here. I'll help you buy, help you sell, REOs, whatever it may be. But in my training, what I have is I have a specific segment called Find a Niche and Get Rich. Because if you can focus on a certain niche, become the expert in that niche, and be the resource for the consumers and serve, you're end up going to make more money and you're going to in less time and with less stress on yourself.
Yeah. So,
and I'm sorry. And the last one is mastery, putting it all together and doing it consistently and becoming a master at your craft.
Right. So, especially when it comes to the real estate, how do you even start, kind of putting this kind of plan into action? How do you break everything down?
So what I do is I have in my training, it's a 12-week training and it goes on for a year. But what we do is we have these certain principles, what we do, and do a training a week for 12 weeks. And then we have a mastermind for the year. But what we do is we implement it. So what I like to say is what's lacking in our world, especially now with COVID in the last year, is this face-to-face like we're having now, but the accountability and the in-person training to have somebody there, because I see so many trainings that are automated. Purchase my training and you'll get this video series. Purchase this and you'll get this ebook. Purchase this and you'll get this pamphlet, whatever it may be. And what differentiates me is I'm there live every week to help you go through, because I want to revolutionize the real estate industry with this training. And what it is transformational training. because this not only works for real estate and sales, this is about their life, and they can accomplish anything. That being said, an example of that is before I joined the military, I was 38 years old, I was 214 pounds, and I had to be 170 for them to even talk to me. So, it doesn't not only work for real estate and for sales in your career, it works for life in general.
Right. I think if you can really kind of start instilling these kind of principles, it's widespread. It's not just, for your career. You can apply this to every aspect of your life.
Exactly. And the one thing that's different in my training is we go through, instead goes for all 8 areas of your life, which would be business, family, health, relationships, personal, stuff like that, investing. So it's not just focused on this, because we know we get into real estate to have a fulfilled life. We just don't know how to get there. And there's no programs out there that I've seen that will take the approach to this, to putting the sales on the back burner per se, while working on yourself personally first and then getting into the sales. We want to discover the why, then we can do the how.
Right. And when it comes to the goal setting and things, there's a timeline that you always want to have, a deadline, kind of the date on when you would like this goal to. So how do you kind of start filling out your calendar, I guess it would be,
So what I'd like to do with my people is, if they're brand new, we come in and we'll set 1 and 3 year goals. What do you want in 3 years? What do you want for this year? And then we break it down into quarters, months, and weeks. Because, okay, so say, for instance, I want to earn $250,000 this year. Well, okay, so I'll walk them through a little activity in my training, which would be the income pipeline. And we'll discover how many prospects you need, how many appointments you need, how many closings, how many convert, and how many people you need to talk to weekly. That way, I love simplicity. I love simplicity. So I break it down to the most basic structure so people can actually see how they can achieve it. Because if you want to make $250,000, your average sales price is, say, $250,000 each home. That's $6,500. Okay, how many homes do you need to sell to get to that point? You know what I mean?
Right. And then, listening to your podcast, one of the things is the 6-hour day. And how do you structure that to where you are getting everything in, because in America, it's, it's that 8 hour, but really everybody's working 10, 12, 14-hour days to cram everything in. So how do you condense everything down?
Well, going back to that, and that's a perfect segue to what I wanted to discuss, because how much time is being wasted? Do we really need 8 and 12-hour days? Do we, could everything be done if we were doing the dollar productive activities? So what I want to share with you, and what I want to share with your listeners, is a part of my book. I had a book in 2015, which was a #1 bestseller on Amazon in real estate and business, and how to do this. But one of the principles I get from that, and that I would love to share with you guys to expand on what you just asked, is called the hour a day model. And I came up with this because I researched, and I like I said, I was my own test subject for a while. So I said, how much time a day do I spend on social media? How much time a day do I spend on surfing the internet or watching TV, whatever it may be? And it came down, I researched some studies that I want to share with you guys. So this is the hour a day model. And what this entailed me to do was earn an extra $67,500 that year, in addition to what I was already earning. So if you can implement this, I can guarantee you can work 6 hours a day, earn a 6-figure income. And I don't work weekends either. But there is a caveat to that. Obviously, if somebody's from out of town or whatever, you do accommodate. But on average, according to whatgraph.com, on average, people spend 2.5 to 3 hours a day on social media. And I only see that going up. And the thing with that is, people spend so much time on social media and we think we're working, but we're scrolling through. There is a point for social media. And what I teach my coaching clients is, social media is an extension of your in-person relationship. It's not a replacement of. So, and according to Nelson numbers, people spent 4.8 hours a day watching TV. And then people spend a minimum of 8 hours a day surfing the internet, according to Global Web Index. So that's a total of 16 hours a day. So if you're doing that for 16 hours a day, and then say you sleep 8 hours a day, there's your 24 hours when you have time to work. And all of us get caught in that, especially me. I was like, oh, I'm scrolling through social media, I'm doing this. But if you have 16 hours a day times 5 days a week, that's 80 hours a week. 80 hours a week times 52 weeks is 4,160 hours wasted. And there are a total of 8,760 hours in a year, which 90% of society spends 4,160 on TV, social media, or the internet. So, like I said, I like simple, I like facts, so we can break it down to the most simplest form. And where the hour a day method comes in is if you spend 1 hour a day times 365 days, obviously is 365 hours, divided by 40 equals, what if I could give you an extra 9.125 extra 40-hour work weeks a year? What would you do with it? And again, I said I don't work weekends, so what I transfer is I do 90 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, on, and what would you do with an additional 2 months a year? So what I did is I earned an extra $67,500. And the way I did that is I implemented this model. I did 90 minutes daily on lead generation and follow through. And if you notice, I said follow through, not follow up, because follow up implies a one-time event.
Right.
So after implementing this, I sold a house a week for 9 weeks at an average sales price of $250,000 times 3%, which is a $7,500 commission. I own my own company, so I get my commission.
Right.
So times 9 equals an extra $67,500 yearly. So if we can implement that and you go back to saying we're working 12 and 10-hour days, are we really working on dollar productive activities, or are we just looking busy?
Right. Right. And I think if somebody, doing that kind of self-audit, if you were to, really kind of look at what are you spending all your time on, I think people would be quite shocked with what they found.
I was, when I did, like I said, I did it, and I was scrolling, and especially now on the iPhone, you can look at your screen time, and I'm like, wow. And, and sometimes we fool ourselves by saying, I'm working, but I'm sending these messages on Facebook, I'm putting this on Facebook. But are you actually talking to people that are going to buy or sell right now? Or are you building a relationship with somebody that can send you referrals? And so many people don't understand what that means, because in today's society, we have that scarcity mindset, like you said, where it's like, well, I just need to pay the bills, I need to pay this. But in actuality, if we took a step back, went through a training or a program and stuck to one, because there are many out there that worked on us personally as well as professionally, we can implement this. It's a repeatable system. You go through it once, implement it, and you repeat it. It's just rinse and repeat. You don't have to adjust every time for it. You just grow with it.
Right. So, and I really like that, an extra hour a day, kind of doing that whole, if I had however many weeks, like what, figuring out what it is that you would do to earn that money, or to what it would be getting you to your goal. I think having that, being able to write down, if I had this amount of time, I would be able to do X, Y, and Z. And then having that written, then you can actually put it into your calendar and you can start time blocking for that, throughout your day.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you said that, because when I do my training, I have, it's not, like I said, it's not a recorded training. I'm there live. We go through, it's a transformational experience. So I'm there live and we go through and I answer everybody's questions. But part of the workbook is that it's like, okay, how much do you want to earn? But then the second question is, why do you want to earn it? What is that going to do for you or your family if you earn that, or your lifestyle? What would that do for you? And then the second one is emotion, or the third one is emotion. Why do you want that? Why? And then, because if it's not emotion back, you're likely not going to take action on it.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times, that why is really the cornerstone to everything, right?
Yes.
Because if you didn't have that why, like, again, why would you be doing it? Why are you putting yourself through, this? You could be sitting on the beach doing whatever, but,
exactly.
I think that word in itself is one of those ones that, needs like the, highlights around it all the time.
The quote, yes. We're so like-minded. I do that too. And I ask you, why are you in this? Why are you doing this? And I would encourage your listeners to, after they listen to this, take 5 to 10 minutes and ask yourself, why are you doing it? Why did you get into real estate? And are you fulfilling that? If not, it's time to readjust. It's time to, maybe explore something.
Right. So, when it comes to real estate in particular, what are some of the things that you work with people to start building back into, to start taking advantage of that time that they would be getting back?
Are you saying as in real estate, like as in generating leads, or you mean personally,
just for real estate, growth? Because I think a lot of times people I guess, with your live coaching, you're able to have these conversations to get to somebody's specific needs. Somebody might be a great at lead generation, but it's that follow up. So working with them to start implementing those type of things where another person might be great at follow up, but they're not great at, lead generation.
Exactly. And so what we do is we go through and we find their strengths. Like I said, we'll find them. Like I have the segment called Find a Niche and Get Rich. Who do you love working with? Who do you absolutely hate working with? And then we go from there and have them create a niche. But then we work off their strengths, because I believe in our society today, so many of us focus on weaknesses versus strengths, that I want to expose their strengths. Okay, let's maximize your strengths, because that's what you're good at. If it's generating leads, you do that. But let's hire you a virtual assistant or a transaction coordinator to take care of the rest. And vice versa. If you're good at paperwork and follow through, let's hire you like an in-person salesperson to make your calls and do some lead generation, or get you a program. So that will get you some FISBOs, whatever it may be, or expireds. I like to focus on strengths, and when we can add in the rest. Because for me, I love being in front of people. I love talking. I love helping, bringing out the best in people. I'm not the best at paperwork, and I'm not the best at organizing. So I have somebody on my staff to do that.
Yeah. And I like that idea of, looking, really kind of honing in on your strengths, because I think a lot of times, it's always, you're always saying, well, I can't do that.
Yes.
Rather than, and then going back to, the whole mindset thing of, if you're continuing to say, I can't, well, you're always keeping yourself down. You're never allowing yourself to grow.
Well, going to that, our words matter. And that's part of one of the mindset that I go through my courses called kinesiology, because what we say to ourselves matters. And I don't know if you know, there's this exercise called kinesiology, and it's a muscle testing exercise. And when I do my live workshops, I'll bring somebody up and have them say all this negative stuff about themselves, and their arm will go down. It actually weakens you when you talk negatively about yourself or anybody else. But then I'll have them say their goals or something positive, and they're strong, their muscles are strong. So it actually does weaken us when we talk negatively to ourselves.
Yeah. Tell me about, so you've been doing this for a while, just, before we wrap up, just some of the, the success stories and these people that you're getting to meet, throughout your coaching.
It's been pretty amazing. It's been slow start and slow going, but I think it's for a reason. It's because I'm not promising people you're going to sell 100 homes a year. Just do this one simple strategy. I'm like, no, let's work on you. Let's help you become the best you can be. Discover why, and then let's implement the how. So one of my greatest stories was actually from a new realtor. She was getting into the business, and she had no idea what she was going to do. So I go, hey, you know what? Let's trade somewhere. Let me work on you with my system. You implement what I tell you to implement, and we'll work it out together. So now she's done that. She's been implementing it for 2 years, and she's earning over a high 6-figure income, and she travels 6 to 8 weeks a year. She has a great life. She's involved in her community. She loves to do stuff at the gym. So she, teaches class at the gym, which is part of her network, as part of her sphere. So that's one of my greatest success stories. A second one would be, of all places, is a home inspection company that I train. They wanted to start a home inspection company. I helped them do it. We implemented some of this training. They sell their home inspections for $349, and she's earning a very high 6-figure income at a $349 product. She has 2 assistants and 4 inspectors. So it works, It's pretty awesome to see what's going on. And seeing some stuff around the country. I've had the benefit and the pleasure of speaking for the Residential Real Estate Council, which was, most people know it as CRS. I've spoken at their celebrations. I've spoken at their leadership conferences at NAR Annual. I've spoken for some REMAX organizations. So it's been fulfilling. And now what I've done is hone it in on my own personal program. I created a Facebook group, and I want to bring people in to do specifically my program, and agents of all walk of life. You could be a new agent, not knowing where to go. You could be a seasoned agent saying, you know what, why am I always chasing and chasing and chasing? Let's work on you, and let's help you discover what you want.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Where can people find your course and find you, on these platforms?
Well, I'm on all social media. It's my handle is Waylon Chavez USA. They can go to waylonchavez.com. But if you're an agent and you want to join the exclusive 6-figure community, you can go to Facebook, and you can either search 6-figure Realtor Revolution, or just easily go to 6figures with an S, realtor.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and we will definitely be putting all that in our, descriptions of the episode
Oh,
and everything. So,
I
but
appreciate that.
but again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
My pleasure. And thank you so much for what you're doing, because like we were talking before, it sounds like we're very aligned and we want to help and serve these agents to actually have a life and do great things. So thank you guys for what you're doing also.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. So I really want to thank Waylon for joining us, and you can certainly learn more by listening to his podcast, the Six Figure Realtor Podcast, and through the links posted below. Now remember, if you or somebody else on your team has an inspirational story or tips to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure you subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.